The American flag is one of the most powerful symbols ever created. It is recognized across the world, not because of its size or design, but because of the meaning carried in every thread. It waves above schools and government buildings. It is raised during moments of pride and lowered during moments of loss. The true story of the American flag is far deeper than most people realize. This story does not begin with celebration. It begins with fear, uncertainty, and a fragile dream of freedom. In the late 18th century, America did not exist as a nation. There were no United States, only 13 separate colonies, spread along the eastern edge of a vast and unfamiliar land. These colonies were ruled by the British Empire. Decisions were made thousands of miles away by people who would never walk their streets or fight their battles. Taxes increased. Rights were limited. Voices were ignored. Slowly, resistance began to grow. Some colonists demanded independence. Others feared rebellion would bring destruction. Families were divided. Neighbors stood on opposite sides. The future was unclear, but one thing became certain. If these colonies were ever going to stand together, they needed a symbol, something stronger than words, something that could unite them when everything else threatened to pull them apart. In June of 1777, during the height of the Revolutionary War, the Continental Congress made a quiet decision. There was no parade, no public announcement, just a short resolution. It declared that the flag of the United States would have 13 stripes, alternating red and white, and 13 stars on a blue field. The words were simple, but their impact would last for centuries. The 13 stripes represented the original colonies. Each stripe stood for a community that had chosen risk over submission. The stars were placed together, not in a line, not in a hierarchy, but in a shared space. Each star was equal. Each colony mattered. This was not accidental. It reflected a radical idea for its time. That power should not belong to a king. That people could govern themselves. That unity did not require sameness, only shared belief. One of the most famous legends connected to the flag is the story of Betsy Ross. According to tradition, George Washington visited her home and asked her to sew the flag. She suggested the 5-pointed star, saying it could be cut with a single fold. Historians still debate the accuracy of this story. There is no written proof. But the legend itself reveals something important. America has always believed that ordinary people shape extraordinary history. The flag was not created in luxury. It was stitched in modest homes, carried by tired hands, and raised in dangerous places. As the war continued, the flag became a signal of hope. For soldiers, seeing it still standing after battle meant survival. For citizens, it became proof that the dream was alive. Slowly, meaning began to attach itself to the colors. Red came to represent courage, and the blood sacrificed for freedom. White symbolized purity of purpose, and the belief that a new nation could be built on ideals. Blue represented vigilance, justice, and perseverance. These meanings were not officially declared. They were earned through struggle. As America expanded, new states joined the Union. Stars were added. The flag evolved. But the stripes never changed. They remained as a reminder that the nation was born not from comfort, but from courage. One of the most defining moments in the history of the American flag occurred in 1814. During the War of 1812, British forces attacked Fort McHenry. Bombs exploded through the night. The sky burned with fire. Many believed the fort would fall. A young lawyer named Francis Scott Key watched anxiously from a ship. When dawn arrived, he looked through the smoke. The American flag was still flying. That single image inspired the words that would become the Star-Spangled Banner. From that moment forward, the flag became a symbol not just of independence, but of endurance. It had survived attack. It had survived doubt. And it would survive division. The flag flew during the Civil War, a conflict that tested the nation's soul. It flew during World War I and World War II,
as American soldiers crossed oceans into uncertainty. It flew during moments of unity and moments of protest. It was raised on Iwo Jima, planted on the moon, folded carefully, and handed to grieving families. At times, the flag has been challenged, questioned, even burned. But that too is part of its story. Because the American flag does not represent a perfect nation. It represents a striving one. A country constantly wrestling with its ideals, trying to live up to the promises stitched into its fabric. Every wave of the flag carries echoes of the past, of farmers who became soldiers, of voices demanding freedom, of sacrifices that shaped a nation. It is not just cloth. It is memory. It is belief. It is responsibility. The American flag is not about where the nation has been, but where it hopes to go. And that is why it still matters today. Because as long as it flies, the story of America continues.